Good evening, everyone. Ian Patrick here with a bit of a special episode because this is the first movie review I've done where it's totally based off a YouTube subscriber recommendation. So I love recommendations from people down in the comments because it really helps me connect with you all, and it's sort of the reason why I do this. So please continue to recommend movies to me. And also, I love Clark Gable, and I'm sort of on a Clark Gable trend right now. But anyway, tonight's review is Hold Your Man, and it's an MGM picture that came out in 1933. It stars Clark Gable and Jean Harlow, and it's directed by Sam Wood. And Sam Wood, he later would go on to actually help with the production of Gone with the Wind. So just want to mention that. And this is the third film out of 6 that were made with both Clark Gable and Jean Harlow. And I've already reviewed Red Dust with those two. I would say Red Dust, I loved Red Dust, so I would recommend Red Dust over Hold Your Man, but definitely recommend watching Hold Your Man. So Clark Gable in this movie, he stars, or his character's name is Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall is such a good con man name because he plays kind of a con who does small gigs, or whatever you want to call it. Not big time gigs, he's not like knocking banks off, robbing banks or anything like that. He just does small things, and you'll see that at the start of the movie. And one funny thing about Clark Gable in this movie, Eddie Hall, is that he has a crooked smile in it, and so he purposely, and even in pictures you'll see he has like a crooked smile. It's so funny. And Jean Harlow, her character's name is Ruby, and she plays sort of this, I don't want to say prostitute, but I sort of think that's what she is, because you see in her apartment she has all these things from different men, so it's like, okay, so she's sort of an escort. I think escort's a better word. It's worth noting that this was made a year after Red Dust, and at the time, I mentioned in my Red Dust review, so if you haven't seen that review, go watch it. I mentioned that Jean Harlow's husband had committed suicide, or about a year, or I'm not sure on the time, but a little bit before Red Dust, and obviously before this movie. So public sentiment on Jean Harlow wasn't that great. In fact, there were some people who wanted her banned from Hollywood at the time, which kind of plays into the movie because the producers wanted her to sort of be this awful woman, and then you'll see towards the end she's kind of she's an angel by the end of the movie, like they used to do back then. So it starts out with Eddie Hall. He's on the run from the police, and he busts into Jean Harlow, Ruby's apartment, and she's in the bathtub, and she's just like, hey, what are you doing here? Yeah, being Jean Harlow. And of course, if a guy as good looking as Clark Gable busts into a woman's apartment, she's not going to ask questions, right? Well, I don't know, but so he busts in, and she lets him basically hide from the police. And it's so funny how he hides from the police. He gets in her bathtub, and he puts suds and shampoo all over his face to where he's unrecognizable, and he changes his voice kind of in this high-pitched, hi, how you, like, honey, like that sort of voice. And it's so funny because the police don't recognize him when they see him in the tub, and he's got clothes on. But I loved the opening scene. It was very, very clever. So I want to note that there are so many sexy scenes in this movie, and what I mean by sexy is that the flirting between Clark Gable and Jean Harlow is just like, you feel the tension between them, like what's gonna happen next, like, because Jean Harlow, Ruby, she is just full of these witty, clever cracks. She's always cracking these wisecracks at not just at Clark Gable but other people. So she's full of one-liners. They're so funny, and Clark Gable has a few too. But Ruby is really the aggressor, as is common with Jean Harlow and Clark Gable movies. And what I mean by that is she's the one like who's kind of coming on to Clark Gable, and like he tries to come on her, but she's like, sit down, boy. Like, she is the aggressor. She is the one in control. But as the movie progresses, you see how she looks at Clark Gable. You just know she's in love with Clark Gable. And I think that's one of the most powerful things with Jean Harlow and Gable movies, is that the way she looks at him. And I would say I would love it if a woman, my future woman, would look at me the way that Jean Harlow looks at Clark Gable, because you can just see the love in her eyes. So the movie is just full of these hot scenes between them. And I want to note the scene where it's sort of after they've been reunited, because they reunite in a cabaret because she's secretly trying to bump into him again. And after being in the cabaret, she goes back to his place, and she's sort of acting nonchalant, like she doesn't want to be there. And he just keeps on coming on to her and coming on to her. And this was probably my favorite scene in the movie. And I just want to note her jacket in it is just full of fluffs that I'll show you guys, and I have pictures of it, but her jacket is just so impressive. But the tension in this scene is just so strong between them, and eventually, of course, she gives in to Eddie, and they kiss, and it's assumed that, you know, they slept together because they wake up in the morning, and now Eddie is sort of like acting like he's done with her. He's over it. He's like basically, it was good. It was good. Maybe I'll see you around sometime. And I felt so sorry for her, because, you know, she was really falling for the guy, and then he's just like moving on to the next thing, like, oh, I'm just another girl to him. So I wanted to note that scene. Let me see. Yeah, he talks as if it's a one-time thing, but he has a change of heart when they are plotting this, just a quick get money scheme where she's kissing on this older guy. They're gonna rip him off, and when Clark Gable sees that she is kissing another guy, he just loses it and punches the guy, and the guy actually ends up dying from the punch. And he's basically quickly like, get off him, and from now on you're only gonna kiss me. And then they go get married, like in the blink of an eye. So in the blink of an eye, like, Clark Gable just completely changes. I guess he's fallen in love with her, and because he kills the guy with the punch after their little quick wedding in the courthouse or wherever it was, they get their marriage license. He is on the run from the police, but she ends up being taken to a reformatory for women. And this is where the movie completely changes from like a fun romance sort of comedy to like a drama. And I don't like the second half of the movie as much as the first, because the scenes between them are gone since she's by herself, and it's sort of depressing. It's sad seeing Jean Harlow like that, just depressed and missing her man. And we learn that, well, I don't want to give the entire movie away. I've said enough, but so the second half of the movie isn't as good. We're sort of left on the edge of, is he gonna come back, or is she just stuck here without Eddie? And if you haven't seen the movie, come back and see this part where I discuss the very end. My biggest problem with the movie, the end, is just like it's one of those quick, like, oh, like they get married at the reformatory because Eddie sneaks in. He wants to marry her because he doesn't want his son to be a bastard son, and he wants to do right. So he sneaks in. They get married, and then it cuts scenes to she's out of the reformatory with their child, and he apparently had a great lawyer, and he's off for killing a guy, for punching a guy and killing him. And there are a happy family in a train station, and is just one of those. I hate quick Hollywood endings from back in the day. If you've seen my other reviews, you know what I'm talking about. So I didn't care for the ending too much, but I am going to give this movie a solid 3 stars because just purely pretty much based on the chemistry between Gable and Harlow, it was just so strong. The wisecracks between them was hilarious and just really felt natural. And like I talked about, the way Harlow looks at Gable is just like, that's what I want in my future sometime. And like I said, it sort of fell apart at the end, or the last third of the movie. It just went too fast. But I'm always just want to keep coming back for more Gable and Harlow. It made me want more because they're so good. I've been going on and on. I just have so much to say about this movie. But I do want to read this quick thing from a book I have. It says, Hold Your Man must have started as a sleazy comedy melodrama with a strong whiff of Double Indemnity and other 40s forays. The times were not yet ripe for that, so the picture had to canonize Harlow and whitewash Gable. In jail, she discovers she's going to have a child, and as soon as Gable finds out, the movie shrivels, which is sort of what I was saying. Now, I want to show some beautiful pictures I have in some of my books of the movie. I have a lot of really good pictures. Let's see. I'm always so bad at showing pictures off. This one is probably my favorite. This is when she's in the reformatory and they're arresting Eddie. Here's on set. It's fun seeing them together, and they actually had a good relationship. They had a good relationship even on the set of Red Dust because of what Jean Harlow was going through. Clark Gable is really good to her. And I just have some more pictures from the film. That's when he's in the bathroom. There's that that jacket I was talking about in the really spicy scene between them. There's Gypsy. And I wanted to read off some one-liners from the movie, but I'm already going over. There's the guy that he punches. I wanted to read some one-liners, but I'm sort of going over time because I usually don't go on this long, and especially on movies like this. And then I have one more book to show off some pictures from the movie. There they are again when he's getting arrested. I guess I could read off maybe like one or a few one-liners. So Ruby at one point says, "You wouldn't be a bad-looking dame if it wasn't for your face." And then there's that one scene where Ruby says, "Wait a minute, I got 2 rules. I always stick to when I'm visiting, like visiting at a guy's place. Keep away from couches and stay on your feet." That's in the spicy scene when she has her jacket on. And then one more, Eddie says, "Here, I'll show you the bedroom." And she says, you can send me a picture of it. So go watch this movie. I'm sort of on a Clark Gable trend now. My next movie is going to be another Clark Gable movie. Thanks for watching, and have a good night, everyone.